Hey everybody, John Ramdeen, Cody Saftik here in Fight Network's downtown studios. The UFC returns to Houston, Texas this weekend. A featherweight bout in the main event. Dennis Bermudez taking on the returning Korean Zombie. 145 pounds is the name of the game. Very confusing time for fight fans. I'm sure for the UFC, for the fighters involved. Because in my mind, Conor McGregor is the 145-pound champion. I saw him win that title. I saw him win the interim title, and then I saw him become the undisputed champion. He decided to leave that division. Now it was Frankie Edgar and Jose Aldo battling for the interim championship that became the undisputed championship when Conor left the division to go to 155 pounds. But recently in Toronto, we saw Max Holloway capture the interim championship against Anthony Pettis, who says, no more 145 pounds for me. I'm going up to the lightweight division where I was once a champion. What do you make of 145 pounds right now? However, Conor did say that all the UFC had to do was give me a call, and I would have defended my featherweight championship in March. Who knows?
I don't believe that.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows when we're ever going to see Conor McGregor ever step foot inside of the cage again? He seems to be talking about the fact that next time he fights, it'll be inside of a ring. So, with that said, what's going on at 145 pounds?
Well, I would take Conor McGregor off the table. I've known I've caught some flack in the past for saying that, but I don't think he's going back to 145 pounds. And just look at combat sports in general and the way that it's always played out. World champions win their world title, and then they move up. They always move up, and they capture more world titles. But once you start living that high life, then you're not going back down. There's no denying every single time we saw Conor McGregor on the scale at 145, he looked awful. He looked sickly. He looked ill.
But he still had energy.
He still
you know
had
what
energy.
I mean?
Yeah.
Even though he drained himself, he's a big dude. He just fought at 170 pounds. But the fact that he's disciplined to get down to 145 pounds and mentally focused, we know who we're dealing with.
Fair, but at the time he wasn't a big star. At the time he was fighting Dustin Poirier, and people were actually saying, oh, well, Dustin Poirier is too big and too strong, and he's in McGregor's head. And McGregor had things he had to prove. He had money he had to make, but he made the money. He won the world title at 145 pounds. Now he's a wealthy man. And that's not to say he's not motivated. Of course he's motivated. He's motivated by money. And is there big fights at 145, big money fights for him? Yes. But you know his old little saying, oh, you saw me on the salads, now you see me on the steaks. You think he's going back to salads? No, he's not going back to salads. He's going to be at 55. I don't think he goes necessarily back to 170 pounds. An experiment, not necessarily gone wrong, but I think his home's at 155. He returns to 155. That leaves what else is for the division? Well, the logical fight is Jose Aldo versus Max Holloway.
Max Holloway for the undisputed championship.
Now, the issue here is you have Jose Aldo talking about, well, I might want to go to 155 myself, and I might want to box now. So if he's off the table, then you have Max Holloway, who just blew out Anthony Pettis, also not a featherweight, who's not going back to featherweight. It just leaves the division wide open. It's a very talented division. It's a very skilled division. But you look at other guys that were top contenders in the division, like a Jeremy Stevens. Well, now he's lost a couple, and he's a little off the tracks. Frankie Edgar, he's challenged for the title already. He's just destroying your other contenders. Chad Mendes with the submission win over the weekend. Oh my God, Jeff Glover.
Wow.
Shout out to Chad Mendes. Once a top contender, but now because he's got this 2-year ban, he's not able to fight and not really be in that mix.
Cub Swanson, is he the guy? Of course.
Certainly, Cub Swanson's always in the mix for sure. And then your younger guys like a Brian Ortega or Doo Ho Choi, they'll work their way up and can be a mix down the road. But the division's got a lot of uncertainty right now.
And that's why I think this fight between Dennis Bermudez and the Korean Zombie very, very important.
Very.
I think more important for the Korean Zombie than Dennis Bermudez, because if I'm Dennis Bermudez, like, yeah, I've been in the mix. I've been beating guys. I've been active. This guy isn't. He is not a ranked guy when we're talking about the rankings. That's what a lot of fighters will say. For the Korean Zombies, like, if he comes out there and decimates Dennis Bermudez, he throws himself into the mix like, oh, wow, this guy has been doing something since he's been out of mixed martial arts. And then again, you have Cub Swanson coming off of that performance against Doo Ho Choi in Toronto at UFC 206 on the same card that Max Holloway captured the interim 145-pound championship. But I think, as you pointed out, that's the fight people want to see right now. Is if Conor's not a part of the division, Jose Aldo versus Max Holloway for the undisputed championship.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think Dennis Bermudez, it's a pivotal fight for him because he has a win over Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Him and McGregor are the last two guys to defeat Max Holloway. So the storyline's there. Conversely, if you're Korean Zombie, I'm gonna steal a little bit of the shine. I can instantly jump ahead in the division. And when you have a name like Chan Sung Jung and you have some stature in the sport, you just need to roll back that highlight reel. And hey,
exactly.
as a Canadian fan and someone who lives in Toronto, Give me Max Holloway versus Korean Zombie in Toronto. I've seen them both in Toronto. They both look spectacular, and I'd love to see them again.
I'm sure Max Holloway, though, he keeps talking about having a show in Hawaii and Honolulu.
He deserves it. Why don't they go there?
He deserves it. I agree 100%. And we know that there's the fight fans are there, whether it's BJ Penn or the long history, Scott Junk and Cabbage Carrera and Rumble on the Rock, and so many great fighting elements coming out of Hawaii, and Max Holloway just proving that the future, he has that new technology and he's going to be around for a long, long time. Is there anybody at 145 pounds that's kind of flying under the radar for you?
It was Brian Ortega to me. It's just, it doesn't seem like he's fighting all that much anymore. And it's not even so much that he's a dark horse in the sense that he can beat the high echelon guys. It's just, you're always getting a really good fight out of him every time he comes to the cage. And he's got a really...
Jiu-jitsu
jiu-jitsu is on point. So now I'm thinking to myself, geez, you know who's really replaced him in my eyes is this Jason Knight kid. 145 pounds. He's very much like a Brian Ortega in that his jiu-jitsu is not black belt. I believe he's only a purple belt, but he's super aggressive. He stays in your face the entire time, and he's got unbelievable striking that it's not pinpoint refined, it's not super accurate, but the volume, the pace that he's able to put on guys. Someone told me going into his last fight against Bruce Leroy, this guy's actually got a deviated septum, can't even breathe out of his nose.
Wow.
Expect him at altitude to slow down pretty fast. Didn't slow down whatsoever, not even a little bit. Imagine what he can do when that's fixed over 3. I like this kid. He's still only 23. That's why they call him Jason the Kid Knight. Give him a couple years.
One of my favorite divisions in all of mixed martial arts, the featherweight class. Will we see that matchup between Max Holloway, the interim champion, and the undisputed champion, Jose Aldo, one of the greats of mixed martial arts? Please, UFC, put that fight together.